Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do my monthly reading wrap-up for August 2021. August was a pretty good reading month. I read 9 books in total by 6 different authors and in 3 different genres, so it was quite a varied month. And right today I'll get straight into talking about the first book, which was Rosewater Redemption, written by Tade Thompson. This is the 3rd book in the Wormwood trilogy. I will be doing a review of this, which I've already filmed and got scheduled either next week or the week after. I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment. So I will not say too much now, obviously due to it being a 3rd in the trilogy as well. Suffice to say, however, the overall Wormwood trilogy I really enjoyed. I think it's a really strong science fiction alien sort of trilogy, with an alien creature, let's say, that comes down to Earth. It settles in Nigeria and it has some strange effects on the locals. A town is created around it and the plot goes from there. Let's say, it creates a sort of psychic network and makes certain people become psychic as well, which sounds strange, and it probably is in a sense, but it also works extremely well. It's well written. And I actually think it's probably a little bit stronger than the second book. I think the first book's got a very specific feel. The second book sort of slightly changes that, which some people more, and indeed I initially had issues with. This is sort of going halfway between the feel of the first book and the feel of the second, which I think really works well. The second book that I read in August was Glass and Gardens Solarpunk Winters, edited by Sarena Ulibarri. Now, this is a short story collection of about a dozen to 15 short stories, all about the science fiction subgenre of solarpunk, which is essentially a very optimistic subgenre where you think about the future where the world's not in a good state, but you are thinking about the idea of renewable resources, the solar energy, wind power, whatever else, geothermal, and you are quite optimistically positive about what the future may bring. Yes, it may bring problems, but we can solve them together. This is a collection by multiple different authors, most of whom I've never heard of before, and surprisingly, considering I've never heard of most of these authors before, this is actually a collection that really worked out well for me. I really enjoyed this. This is actually the second collection now. You may remember, if you've watched my previous videos from a year ago, I think it was, maybe a year and a half ago, that there was another version of this book, almost, called Solarpunk Summers. So this is very similar in theme, just obviously a different season. Obviously, I would recommend this if an optimistic feeling, sort of future thoughts of Earth and our future sounds something that appeals to you. It does for me. I'm an optimist by nature, so this works for me very well indeed. The third book that I read was The Doomed City, written by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This is one of the Yellow Spine SF Masterworks, and at this point, as you may or may not know, I have a little bit of a running history with the Strugatskys, in that I like their writing styles, but every time I read one of their books, or almost, I don't really understand what I'm actually reading, and I find it frankly disappointing by the end of it, despite liking the writing style. This, sadly, I thought would break the trend because of what I've heard about it, but it didn't. I was disappointed by this because of that reason. I was expecting it to be more obvious with what he was trying to say, and the plot would be more straightforward and more actually understandable. But I still can't describe this book because I don't understand half of it. But again, it's the same as what I've just said. I like the way they write. I just wish they would write in a way that I could understand the plot line. They go off on slight, what tangents. I'm not even sure how to describe this book, but it's something that both appeals to me and also frustrates me because I like it in a sense, but it also makes me puzzled and makes me wonder why I keep reading them. for the record, I have one more book by the Strugatskys that I own but I haven't read. That will be my final ever book by them. I'm not going to try any more books. I mean, this is like my 6th book by them now, maybe, or 5th. So I feel as though I've given them a good chance. And the books keep doing that same thing where, you know, I like the writing style, but the books and the plots don't work. So I'm just going to call it a day basically after this upcoming one in the future. And then, you know, so I would say if you like the writing style of the Strugatskys, if you try one of their other books, then it will work for you again, because it is very much their very unusual writing style with a very strange plot line to do with a mysterious sort of city or campment in the middle of another city, and nobody quite believes it's there, but it kind of is there. It's very strange and hard to describe. I'm not doing a very good job of it, mainly because I didn't understand it fully, but it's an interesting concept, just not one that I fully understood. Frankly, I'm not going to mince words, so, you know, it's sadly another one by them that didn't work. Next, I read 3 ebooks by Nancy Warren, and those aren't have to read these out. Lace and Lies, Bobbles and Broomsticks, and Popcorn and Poltergeists. These are 3 entries in the Vampire Knitting Club series, which I started a few months ago, and I've been reading a few of every month now, and I have been really enjoying this series. The overall premise of it is that in a knitting shop or wool shop in Oxford, England, in the UK, there's a little old lady in the first book who owns a knitting shop. She dies, and she dies under mysterious circumstances. Her niece, Lucy, comes over from where she's been living in America to obviously go to the funeral and sort of, you know, look after the shop while things get, you know, tied up and such. And basically she finds out that underneath the knitting shop there live a nest of vampires who are actually quite nice, and she gets to know them, and they run a knitting club in her back room of her knitting shop. And basically it's every book there is some sort of small issue going on, mainly like somebody gets murdered in some odd way, and she essentially gets pulled in and has to solve a murder. You know, it's sort of cosy mysteries. They've got mild romance in them, but it's very mild, and they're just nice, well written, and they're just enjoyable. I mean, frankly, by the fact that I keep reading them, should tell you that they are just something that works for me, obviously, on a really fundamental level. They're just easy to pick up and read, they're casual, and they're just enjoyable, and they're optimistic in feel as well. So overall, I'd say these are a really fun series, of which I think are very easy to just casually read, you know, feeling like something a bit lighter after a more heavy book. These are ideal, they really are. And next up, and finally I should say, are the last 3 books, which are 2 Pratchett. Yes, I'm continuing on with my reread of them, week by week, almost. The 3 books I read this month were Thief of Time, The Truth, that's fine, it's just dropped on the floor, but no problem, and The Fifth Elephant. Now, these 3 books, I can't show you the third one because it's on the floor, which is not damaged, are all really fun and well written Discworld novels. I am going to be doing Discworld individual reviews of them in the upcoming few months. I've already got almost all the other books, as you've blatantly could tell, already scheduled on my channel until the end of the year at this point. My channel has become, I'm aware, a bit of a case of a monthly wrap up filled with Discworld reviews and an occasional other video thrown in. That's what it's been like for most of the year. But this is something that I've always wanted to do, so it's not going to change just yet. It will be sometime next year before I actually get through all of these reviews, because there's rather a lot of them, and overall I really like them. And as far as plotline goes, I'll just quickly do a very brief synopsis. This is to do with a very unusual clock that gets made, and it may stop time and therefore stop the universe and all life as we know it, which is generally a bad thing if you like living in the universe and being alive. This is about the Discord's first ever newspaper and the free press and such, and what that can result in, let's say, with some very strange couple of gangster type figures, which I thought this was the first book, by the way, that by Tate Pratchett that I hadn't read, but apparently I must have read it once a long time ago, because certain parts of it were familiar, so I must have read it after all. And The Fifth Elephant is about a crime that happens to do with the dwarfs, and the Sea Watch go to Overworld, which is basically kind of an Eastern European area, and have to solve a crime, chased by vampires, werewolves, that sort of thing, as you would expect from Tate Pratchett. These are all mad, fast-paced, brilliantly well written and really funny, and some truly meaningful points in them as well. So with that said, that is it for all of the books that I read in August. If you've read any of these books, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk about them. I will link all of these books along with the social media links in the description box below as always. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.